Hello, welcome to another episode of Showboys. My name is Mike, and as always, I'm joined by my beverage pouring and sipping friend and co-host, Nick. How's it going? That looks like a pretty frosty mug.
It's going great. This is a fresh out of the freezer mug. It is frosty.
Yeah, so I see you didn't really play into our episode description for tonight and put down your mead goblet to have a chat. You actually picked it up.
Yes. Must.
Okay.
It's a pickup kind of conversation.
Yes. So before we get into it, have a good day today. How have you been?
Yeah, it was a good day. Blah. Busy. Excited for this episode. Excited for Thursdays as always.
Yes.
Always have a good time. Chit-chatting.
That's right. Yes, I'm also pretty excited as well. And much like you, had a pretty crazy busy day. Felt like I've been running around like a chicken with its head cut off for most of the day. But
Well,
I'm excited to be here and chat.
Well, hopefully this can be the calmer, more relaxing part of your day.
Yeah, and I don't know if you noticed, if you take a gander over here, the long talked about and fabled Funko Pop shelves have been added to the wall. So I have my room back here on my desk. I spent some time over the weekend rearranging my pops and my very manly and adult and not childish action figures of Aquaman and Batman and the sort. Got my comics up, added my DVD collection. I'm feeling good. I found a couple Mr. Robot Funko Pops that I've been missing from my collection. Now I just need one. I'm down to one. I have one left I'm hunting for. Angela Moss, if you're out there, coming for you.
Just regular Angela Moss or which geta? Okay.
I think she's actually in like the pantsuit Angela Moss. The ones I picked up, actually, I'll just slide over here for a sec. I snatched a nice white rose. Wow, the glare. Okay. So we got white rose looking all powerful. And then we got a Darlene here with the nice heart-shaped sunglasses, the iconic Darlene sunglasses.
Very nice. Those
they joined my collection. Yeah, and I got them both $5 each, so you can't beat that.
Makes me want to watch Mr. Robot or do some episodes on Mr. Robot.
Don't tease, because I'm all for that. Any excuse to watch Mr. Robot again, I'm in. But yes, why don't we actually get into the topic we're going to talk about tonight? You wanna tell the people what it is?
Yes. So tonight we decided to do a surprise What's Playing episode, a little bonus for the month, mostly because our lives have been consumed in whatever spare time we can find to play a very popular game that has just come out 6 weeks ago, and has absolutely taken Steam and I would say the PC gaming world by storm. And that would be Viking Minecraft, also known as Valheim. That's
right.
This episode is What's Valheim?
Yes, we decided to sneak another What's Playing episode in.
Valheim?
And you'll notice our good friend Chad isn't with us. It's because he hasn't caught the bug yet. He's not much of a PC player and hasn't played Valheim, so to spare him some time on a Thursday evening, we decided to not drag him in here and make him listen to us talk about it for 2 hours.
Yeah. I would set this out if I were him. So.
Yeah, I would have felt terrible wasting an evening of his. But yeah, like Nick said, this game has taken the world at this point by storm, at least, the PC gaming world. And it's so fun. And it's really one of the first games to pull me out of League of Legends. Like I haven't.
We've been teasing it for for 6 months now, for as long as the podcast has been around.
Yes.
How do we take the League of Legends needle out of your arm?
Well, we found it. It's called Viking Minecraft.
Yeah.
I haven't even opened the client for Riot Games in like a month.
Man, the whole time you've had Valheim in your possession, you have not opened.
Yeah,
League.
it's been just a crazy gaming time for me, because right before Valheim, I decided to finally like get off my gaming rear end and finally beat Fallen Order. I pounded that out, and then there was like a couple days before I finally decided to buy Valheim, and it's just been Viking Minecraft ever since. So if you want, can you kind of summarize what, I mean, a little more in depth besides Viking Minecraft, but what exactly Valheim is?
Yeah, so large in part, Valheim is a survival sandbox RPG of sorts. I would throw the RPG tag on there, but it is definitely a survival sandbox game. Procedurally generated world. Every world's different. You can share and throw around different seeds of different worlds. There's even generators where you can preview them in advance, or just share ones with your friends that you know are good. But yeah, it's a huge world developed by what I hear is originally 2 people. They expanded to a third, and now is a team of 5. Now that the game has released early access on Steam for $20, completely worth it. I have 112 hours played on.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull Steam up real quick and see how many hours I have. I'm probably not gonna be proud of this, or maybe I will be proud. 93.7.
Okay, not bad, not bad. It is the 39th best reviewed game on Steam. So of all the games on Steam, it ranks number 39 in best reviewed. That's decently well.
I mean,
really
for a
quickly,
game that's not even like fully released, that's pretty nuts.
Yeah, and it's an early access game. It's the first version of it. They've released some bugs and patches like within the first couple weeks, but large in part it's at the very early stage of its development. But I would say it's much more polished, full of content than some AAA games these days. So for early access, I mean, and for $20 and for it to have a long life ahead of itself, it's quite incredible. And that's part of the story here, I think, as well. It's not just an early access that dropped and it's kind of cool and has a future. It's actually like unimaginably cool and has a very bright future ahead of itself.
Yeah. Yeah, looking at you, Cyberpunk. Yeah, I mean, I couldn't have said that better myself. So yeah, it's one of those games that comes along like once in a blue moon where yeah, just everything about it clicks and resonates with the player. Like you were saying, we've put in almost 100 hours, over 100 hours of gameplay, and Nick hasn't even fought the second boss yet. And our little crew of people that we play with has just attempted the third boss, and I think there's how many bosses?
There's like 5 bosses at this time.
Okay. And we've explored maybe 20, 35, maybe 40% at most of the map.
Collectively, if that. Yeah. I mean, I think it might be 25% collectively amongst the 5 of us that play.
Yeah, the world itself is massive, and like just a quick example of how massive this is. They do have like a fast travel portal system that we'll get into later, and if you're carrying a certain type of material, you can't use the portals. So me and myself and one of the other Mikes who plays with us, looking at you, Crossland, if you ever listen to this, we were down, mining and exploring, gathering resources, and Nick had to like come meet us with a giant sailboat, and then it took us like 20 minutes to sail from where we were to like where our base is that we were trying to get all these resources to. So like the world is huge. It's massive, and there's so much to explore. And at this point, like we were saying, what I was trying to allude to is we've put in 100 hours in the game, and I feel like we've barely scratched the surface.
So for point of reference on the world, that 25 minute sail, obviously a part of it was against the wind as a fun mechanic, because the wind can be at your back or against you. That determines your speed of your ship. But that distance was 1/3 of the height of the map. So yeah, there's lots of water, lots of islands, procedurally generated. So every single map is different. But yeah, it is definitely expansive and very large. And I think that's part of the immersion of it, and everything does seem like an adventure. It's one of those games that very well places you on the ground. And when you're walking through a forest, you feel like you're walking through a forest. And, we had a similar experience when we played New World, the beta for that some months ago. I would say the tree chopping in this is slightly better than New World. While I was impressed with the tree chopping in New World, I like it better in Valheim.
What everyone desires in their gaming experience is excellent tree chopping.
Yeah, and that's the other thing, is this game imposes no or very little expectation upon you. It's very much like Rust in that aspect, or Minecraft, or any of those sort of games where it's literally anything you want it to be. So like Mike said, I've only technically killed the first boss, but I've picked up materials and learned recipes well beyond it. But I spend most of my time building really big buildings, kind of Minecraft style. And that's kind of my thing. And going on, like, picking up on little adventures that you guys all partake in. I'm not one, though, for the constant danger. I get enough excitement out of like the events when something attacks the base. That's enough for me.
Yeah, so just to expand upon your description of the game a little bit. So like you said, it's a survival sandbox game, and it can either be played single player, but you'll really get the most of your experience out of playing co-op with friends. And it's only 10 players per server or world or whatever instance you're playing in. There can only be 10 players max. And like Nick said, the worlds or servers are procedurally generated, so it's random, always something new every world that you can get into. And the cool thing is, your character and your equipment and your skills will transfer between whatever world you're playing on at the time. So if I'm playing by myself on my world, all the materials I gather, or my wood chopping skill that I've improved, when I log into Nick's world when he gets on, like all that wood, all of my weapons and gear and everything will just be there. It's not like starting over every time you want to play with a different friend on their world or whatever. One of the downfalls is if you're playing through the game Valheim itself, you can only play on your friends' worlds, or they can only play on your world when the host of the world is currently online playing. They do have workarounds where you can like pay for dedicated servers that are always online at all times, so the host doesn't have to be online playing. But yeah, if you play this game single player, I'm sure you'll enjoy it for probably like a couple days. But you're really going to get the most fun experience out of playing with at least one friend. But the more you can play with, the better. It's just untold adventures. And like, I mean, like Nick said, the game is what you make it, and it's as difficult as you make it by what you're doing. And there's something for everyone, which I think is kind of cool.
Yeah, I was most impressed, and that's part of the unimposing aspect of the game is that it's not a PvP game. It's not a massively multiplayer game. Like you said, there's a cap of 10 on a server at any given time. And the fact that you can take materials from world to world, whatever you're carrying with you, to wherever you're playing. So there's no need to start over when I jump on Mike's world. And we can use each other's worlds to get materials and just move them about. So it's very open ended like that. And I believe Terraria is a lot like that as well. So it just, and this is another thing that people have written about and I've read, and it's been a very good explanation of it, is it strips away a lot of the kind of tropes of survival games that they kind of fall into, where they're, the painful things that just become annoying and burdensome on you, and that really consume your time, versus the things that you like doing that are fun, like building, adventuring stuff. So a good example of that is to repair any of your stuff. It's free. You just walk up to the right workstation and click a button and it repairs everything. No need to gather materials, or it breaks and you have to make a new one. Once you make something, once you learn something, it's there, you have it. Everything's very clicky friendly. And they just kind of really strip away that. Maybe later, I know you were impressed with kind of like how the food system works and like how they approach hunger, right? That's a very good mechanic.
So I haven't played Rust, so I'm not like, I don't have that painful experience of
everything kills you.
Yeah, of the extremely fun, painful experience of Rust. But I used to play a game called Don't Starve a lot, which is a survival game. And unlike most survival games, you do have a hunger bar, and you do have to eat food. However, if your hunger bar depletes, like, you're not going to lose health. It's not going to damage you. It's not going to kill you if you don't eat. But eating food and staying fed and rested with comfort levels, which we can get into later, but specifically about the food stuff, you're incentivized to stay fed and eat food and cook new recipes and, expand upon your food gathering and stuff. Because everyone has the same like base health of 25 if you're not fed. And when you eat, depending on what you eat and the different combinations of things you can eat, your health will rise. So like, I think the highest I've gotten my health now where we are at is like 100 and I don't know, maybe 40. I didn't really pay much attention, but it was like over 120, which is high for me where I'm at this point. So like, you don't have that pain point of like every 10 minutes being like, oh crap, okay, I got to go find food because I'm literally going to die and like have to go find my corpse and reloot my body because I didn't eat. But you want to stay fed and always have food materials on you because it makes it harder for, the world to kill you. But, little pain points like that where it's like, borderline annoying things that you have to do in most survival games, they kind of remove the annoying part, but incentivize you to want to still do those things, if that makes sense. I don't know if I said that in a good way or not.
No, yeah, that makes sense. And yeah, I mean, you have your base health and your base stamina. You can run around like that all day, but you're not nearly going to be as efficient or productive doing that. And it's, you don't just need health and stamina to go fight things. I spent a lot of time building, and the game is very much so a simulation in a lot of respects into everything it does. So I kind of simulate a construction site when I build these large buildings because I have stone piles, wood piles all laying around. I have to fix my hammer. I need to eat to have stamina to build because every time you build something, it takes stamina. So,
Yeah.
and then sometimes I'm building tall enough now. If I fall off and don't have that much health, I will die. And I have died from building stuff because I just fall off and die to my doom.
Yeah.
So it's a very dangerous job working these construction sites, let me say.
It really is. I do like another like small little detail thing since you're talking about danger and building and stuff. But like if you're cutting a tree down and the tree falls on you, like I've died so many times from trees falling on me. So it's like little things like that that are kind of cool and add a little layer of immersion and things for you to like, pay attention to and do. But yeah, like you said, 10 player maximum per server, which I think is cool, but also like I'm a big fan of like MMOs, and I don't think this game is suited to be an MMO, but I wonder if maybe more than 10 players would be good or not. Like, I don't know if that would be beneficial for this game or not, but right now we're having a blast with, the three of us that play, almost nightly. But then there's like two other people that play semi-regularly. So like when we're all on, we have 5 people and it's a blast. But yeah, like you said, a 5-man dev team right now. The studio is Iron Gate Studio based out of Sweden. The publisher is Coffee Stain Studios. And the game released February 2nd, 2021. And is in early access, and I don't know, I couldn't find like what the target like full release date was. I don't know if they've announced it or anything, but they have been patching, and they've laid out a roadmap, and they have big updates planned and coming soon, adding more content and everything. So yeah, it's exciting to get into a game that is this well done at this early of a stage, so you can kind of like grow with it and see it take shape. But I think it's already pretty well formed, even in this like infant stage of the game.
Yeah, and I think the surprise of it, no hype that I know of, right? No one knew it was really coming. And it was someone's side project. Like they did it in their free time, and then I think they expanded upon it with the 2-person team, and then the third was the art kind of texture person. But you can really tell that the purpose of this game, it was someone's personal project. It was almost a love of theirs because of the amount of detail and care that they put into the world, just with the physics, the mechanics, how things work. Like it's very thought out. The game is very deep already for being an early access game, and I'm pretty sure like it's a very well-rounded game. Needs some polishing, but it is very polished in other respects. I think the largest place of growth it needs and has to go is on the the multiplayer co-ops side, right? The game needs optimize with some things. If you're if there's 3+ people and there's a lot of structures and buildings, it can get a little laggy. And I think, and also like as far as enemies go and how the events happen when you get attacked or your base gets attacked, I think that's stuff they'll add to. And I think as the PvE element grows in the game, there could be more justification for a 20-person server, right? Where maybe there's a new boss that is kind of like a raid boss, right? And you mentioned it when we were attempting the third boss, right? You felt like we're getting ready for a raid in World of Warcraft.
Yeah, no, it was very like that was so fun. It took me back to early days of trying to raid in WoW. Because we were like, well, first off, took us forever to like
get there.
Well, travel there, but then also like make sure we had, the best food we could take with us, the best like meads and potions that we could have on hand for the fight. And then we're sitting in this extremely hostile zone, getting ready to summon the boss, and we're like trying to talk out like, okay, well, do we have enough room in this area if we have to like kite, or like are there any like other mobs here that we need to kill first? And then of course our third player is like, I'm summoning him, and we're like, wait, I'm like, yes, this really does feel like a WoW raid. Leroy Jenkins.
Yeah.
But and then even the fight itself, like, I don't want to give anything away about the
Spoiler
fight,
alert, we brought the wrong type of weapons
yeah,
completely and did no
weapon
damage to
types.
it.
Weapon types matter, like, and that's cool because like I wasn't expecting that. Uh, like you said, we fought it for probably like 10 minutes and did absolutely, like, I'm not
Nothing.
even joking. We maybe chipped like 5% of its health away, and then it would like heal back to full health, and then we're just like running around in circles. But there was like,
1% at best.
yeah, there was like actual mechanics to the fight, unlike, I mean, there were like mechanics to the first two bosses that I fought and killed, but like this one was exponentially more difficult and more intricate with the mechanics of the fight than the first two bosses, and it was just really cool. Like the first boss I soloed no problem, not knowing what I was doing. The second boss was a little tougher than the first boss, but me and the other Mike were able to handle it without. I don't think either of us died in that fight, but it took a lot longer than the first boss, and there were much more fight mechanics to that. And then the third boss was even more difficult. Having the correct weapon type was really an interesting thing I didn't think I would have to think about in this game. And the mechanics of the fight itself were super, they're much more involved than the other two bosses. So I'm sure as we keep going, up the boss ladder, I'm excited to see kind of how the other fights play out and if they keep continuing to grow in difficulty and mechanics. But maybe I think we might be getting a little too into the minutia right now without explaining like more of a base level of like what you actually do in the game and like what the point of the game is. So maybe let's get into that, and I'll just start it off with when you open the game, you're like being carried by this giant crow by the arms, like being flown into this world. And he just like plops you down and he's like, hey, you're in Valheim because are we dead? We died, and Odin put us in Valheim for some reason, which I think is that kind of like Viking limbo?
Well, that's the thing is maybe, this is where Crossland would come in handy because I think he
Yeah.
actually reads the lore stones. So fun mechanic. So kind of go where Mike's starting here is you get dropped into this world, and one of the most pleasant experiences about it is how you are introduced to the mechanics and the world. It's partially they don't give you any guidance at all. And what really kind of happens is like this crow occasionally shows up when you do something in the world by your own will. And it shows up and it's like, hey, did you just know you did XYZ and you can do now this? And then there's lore stones that tell you clues and hints about the world very indirectly. And, just picking up a piece of flint, right? You learn new recipes because you have touched the flint and you can now do what you can with flint. Chop down a different type of tree, get a different type of wood. You can now do new things with that. So it's a very natural growth of the game. Obviously, you start off I think you're just in like your drawers or something, like you're not wearing much.
Yeah.
It's not like Rust where you're completely naked. You do have at least like briefs on, Viking briefs, because they wore briefs back then. And in the afterlife, you have briefs as well. You just kind of start running about. You pick up stones, pick up sticks. You finally make like a club, maybe a hammer, and it just snowballs from there.
So this is the character lore. So this is kind of like what's going on. In order to prove your worth, you have been sent to the 10th Norse world, Valheim. Only by surviving and fighting in a harsh environment with many mythical monsters and beasts will you prove your worth to the gods. For those who don't prove their worth, though, the only place they will find is hell, the underworld, where their soul will be tormented for centuries. Or maybe you'll be one of the strong warriors who prove their worth and earn the favor of the gods, and your place will be in Valhalla, a majestic, enormous hall located in Asgard, and by your side, Odin. So you're basically dropped here in like Viking limbo, and you have to prove your worth to Odin, and you'll get to go to Valhalla. And yeah, the learning of the mechanics of the game are kind of cool because you don't play like your typical tutorial where there's just blocks of text on the screen explaining things, like holding your hand. You just kind of, like Nick said, you walk around, and when you do stuff, the crow, I forget his name, but like Odin has two crows, right, that are his messengers or whatnot. And this one crow is one of the messengers. So he kind of is your tutorial and learning in the game as you first start. So you'll pick something up and it'll be like, hey, you can use that flint and a branch to make an axe, and then you can chop down trees. And then once you get outside that part, you'll just be walking around exploring the world per se, and walk past a giant rune stone that you can go and click on and read the text. And sometimes it'll give you some like in-game tip on like how to summon the first boss, but it's not like to summon the first boss you need to do this. It's like, I forget what the first boss's name, but it's like
kill its kin.
Yeah, kill its kin, and you got to kind of like figure it out. Or like, boars like to eat mushrooms and blah blah blah, or like protect yours, like just different tips, but it's all like
built into the game,
like in-game,
yeah,
like lore speak kind of.
And that's the RPG element of it, that I would say, because I mean it's easy to get into like a little role play into that game just because I mean, I build stuff. You like to gather and make like little inns and houses and stuff.
Yeah.
Crossman loves to sail.
It's pretty funny. We all have like fallen into our unofficial roles. Like, yeah, if we have a big building project, we're just like, hey, Nick, we need to build this. And then he spends like 3 nights doing it. But like while he's doing it, I'm kind of like the land cartographer. I love to like uncover my map. So I just run around with wagons and explore and gather tons of resources while I'm exploring, and like find all these like little dungeon delves and things, and bring all the materials back for Nick so he can finish our giant boathouse. And like Crossland's just like, none of you know Crossland, but he's our good friend who plays with us, this Mike character we speak about. But he's just like out in the ocean somewhere, like sailing on his boat, like finding different land continents and things like that.
He's always testing out the most dangerous new area too.
Yeah, but it's super fun because like there's something for every type of player.
We have Jarl Mike, who's like our protector overlord in his keep amongst the mountain.
Yeah, and his brother Vince, I believe, who is much better at the game than any of us.
Yeah.
So he's like old trash cans protector, the protector of our protector.
Lords of the server.
Yes, there you go. Yeah, so once you get dropped into the world, they don't really hold your hand, and you got to kind of figure things out for yourself, which is really fun. For once, we're kind of back to that style of game, which is cool. But not only is there like this Minecraft building, resource gathering, crafting aspect of the game, there actually is like a PvE like storyline, and like there are enemies you need to fight along the way. There are bosses you need to fight, and when you beat them, you get like certain buffs and different types of gear that you can craft and stuff. And like within the world, there are, for example, burial chambers that you need to kind of like go and raid to gather certain resources that you can only find in burial chambers, and that drop off of like one other mob in the game, to be able to build equipment to craft more. And like when you get into the next biome, there's another type of dungeon crawl that you can do where you can only get another certain resource. So it's got that depth for all different kinds of players, which is kind of fun. If you want to be like Nick and just build giant castles and boathouses. You can do that. If you want to go be a Tomb Raider, you can do that. If you want to be like our friend Tim, who just gets real sweaty and beats all of the bosses in like the first week, you can do that too. There's something for everyone.
Tim wants to know where my dog is and wants me to show my dog. I don't know what to tell him.
Yeah, I got a better question for you. Where's the fire?
It's warm in Ohio these days. I can put on just the light effect, I guess.
Yes. But yeah, so like
Tim is super sweaty and he like didn't even finish the game, but somehow like played it till he's done now and he doesn't play anymore.
Yes.
I'm just gonna keep calling him out because I know he's watching and being a lurk.
That's right. Just chatting us in Discord instead of our live stream. But yeah, so I guess now that we kind of like got that baseline out of the way, like what are some of your favorite things about this game? Like it could be gameplay wise, or it could be like just like what the studio's doing, or like how certain systems or mechanics in the game, or things like that.
The accessibility of the aesthetic of it. So we haven't really mentioned it, but it's a lo-fi graphics game. So textures and polygons aren't necessarily the most detailed, but the game leans more heavily into the lighting and the physics and kind of like the immersion of the game. So those don't really play a huge factor, and that goes into my thing I always mention about how we're past the point of caring about graphics, right? It's more about gameplay. It's more about the immersion and the mechanics of it. Yeah. So that's one of my favorite things about it, right? Because you can technically play it on like anything. Maybe not very well, but it'll play on anything, which is great. So it makes it very accessible. The accessibility of it on nearly every level is one of my favorite things about it.
Yeah, it's for the graphic style, it's a beautiful game. Like you guys always tease me for how many windows I put in like my houses and my buildings and stuff, but the environment of the game is gorgeous. Like the vegetation in the grassy meadows, or like the looks of the trees in the forest when you're out on the water looks amazing. Like when you're out sailing on the water, it's so nice. And then like there's weather in the game, so occasionally it'll rain and storm, and if you happen to be by water when it's storming, it is the coolest.
Occasionally,
it rains all the time.
It rains all the time.
We basically play this game in Viking Seattle. So
yeah, well, they need to turn the like the ocean surge when it storms down a little bit, because
it's pretty rowdy.
Like the waves are just too much. It's too wavy. But
now like the character models and like some of the like enemy characters, it doesn't look that great. So just like imagine almost like World of Warcraft sprinkled in with a little of like Borderlands cell shading, but not like a lot, not super similar to Borderlands, but like it's borderline cell shading, but very World of Warcraft style, early World of Warcraft style.
It's like the RPG Warcraft kind of look and feel, right? A little blocky, low texture detail, but you don't notice it, right? Because you're not looking at your character that much. You just care that you have a shield and some other stuff. But like the trees move, right? All the leaves, the grass. It's more about the environment detail that kind of really shines. And that's definitely my favorite thing, right? Is the accessibility of it in that respect. I have lots of favorite things. I'm actually thinking of, let's touch on that later as far as like things we need them to do or would like to see done better. But yeah, I mean, it's a great game. What's your favorite thing about it?
My favorite thing?
Chopping trees.
Yeah, it's real cool. Um, no, one of my favorite things is the world kind of feels, even though it's empty, like feels lived in. Like, for example, the northern front that we have been building, I stumbled on in my exploration, and it was like an abandoned village. Like you'll just be walking around, and there's like,
There were things in it though.
yeah, well, yeah, we'll get into that, which is cool. But you'll just be walking around, and like in the woods, there's like a little shack house that's like, um, partially destroyed or whatever. But like you can go in there and repair the structure and add on to it if you want, or you can just like tear it down. But those types of abandoned structures are kind of littered all throughout the world, which is really cool. And the one base that we are making right now, we just went in, we cleared it out because every building in the base was full of like mobs that were very, very hostile.
I didn't clear it out. That's too dangerous for me. I stayed
Nick
with the boat and built the dock. I built the dock, stayed with the boat. It wasn't my boat, it was Crossland's boat.
Was it? It was me and Trash Can cleared it out, and I died several times because I was not geared enough for these mobs.
Yeah. And why the captain of the ship was not with the boat, there's a story to that too. And that's the other thing, is this game generates like stories especially when you're playing with friends. That's the great part.
But I think that might be one of my favorite parts, is just like stumbling upon something that I've come across in my expeditions, as I like to call them, where I'm just running around uncovering my map. But like, yeah, just being able to make your base, your fort or whatever. I mean, it really doesn't have much to do with like the main story of the game, right? You just need somewhere to rest and like craft stuff. But like, I like, we like to try to make it look cool.
Yeah. But I mean, there is function though to your base. I mean, obviously you do need more or less like a home front, right, for all your stuff. But as you kill bosses, the events in the game change.
Yeah.
So
you're right. I totally forgot about that.
So leading up, so before you kill the first boss, right? Maybe you have like a little wood fort, right? A little clearing, a house, and the things of the forest will move, if you will, and
the ground is shaking.
And they come and they threaten your house. So there is a need for fortification. So then after you kill the first boss, the next kind of like biome, right, area of enemies begins threatening you until you kill that boss, and then so on and so forth all through. So that's why I was saying the other night, I was like, I'm a little nervous for killing this third boss, because I know what comes with the death of that boss, and my castle needs to be bigger, and we need more fortifications.
That part's always hilarious, where I'm like out like ways away from Nick, and you just hear him be like, "Oh God, there's 2 trolls."
I like the trolls now. I like them.
I've learned how to like bend them to my will and force them into cheap labor in my mining operations.
There's some really, and that's the other thing. So, I mean, I would always suggest that, like, I mean, it's a little spoilerly, and you could stumble across thing. If you want to keep the game kind of like a secret, don't do it. But go hang out on the Reddit Valheim. There's a lot of fun, cool things that people do on there.
Some people
Notre Dame
way more
Cathedral.
Time than we do.
Yeah, someone built the Notre Dame Cathedral. Someone built the Eiffel Tower out of stone blocks, like 40,000 of them.
We've seen Helm's Deep recreated.
Yeah, Helm's Deep, Stormwind Harbor. That was one of my favorites.
Harbor was really good. I saw a recreation of a Hobbit house.
Yes,
which was cool. But like, I also like, I guess, kind of what we touched on earlier is things that might not be a draw to most gamers nowadays, but like, the one thing that I love is, even though they do have the fast travel like portal system, if you have like a certain item on you, you can't use it. And at first I was really confused until I figured out what the item was. But now I actually really like it because
Yeah.
it would be such a shame if you like part of the fun in this game, as you just heard, is the exploration aspect. And if you're not forced to walk around and explore in your travels, hauling your resources from base to base, you're going to miss out on a lot of the game. And like, the fast travel, don't get me wrong, we utilize it pretty frequently, but like, there's still the need for like the transportation or like having to actually walk through the world that they built that's super gorgeous looking.
Yeah, and that's another thing as far as like they introduced a mechanic, right, that MMOs have not like that, but the fast travel thing, right? So they have fast travel in the game. I think not having fast travel in the game would make it less accessible, right? So once again, they've introduced a system into the game, but still have made a purpose for the more traditional forms of travel, like boats, right, or the carts.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's cool. We use the portals because you can be kind of cheeky with them and like build them right where you're kind of gathering, and then just walk through the portal, put stuff in your base, walk back through, keep gathering. Like I'm doing that right now. And that's really efficient for like the low non-important materials, if you will, the quick stuff. But the stuff that can't go through the portal, that just requires a special trip occasionally to make happen, and those trips turn out to be fun. I think it would right, like you said, it would remove the exploration aspect completely if you can just fast travel everywhere.
Yeah.
But
then you never know what kind of like side hijinks you might get into
right, yeah,
in your travels, which is always fun.
Yeah, it's important. So they found a clever way to include a quality of life feature, but still make everything else that they put in the game meaningful, like sailing, which is fun. I mean, you and Crossley just kind of sat on the boat. I came down and picked you guys up. We loaded the boat and took off, and you guys just sat there and you guys talked about like comic books and stuff while I sailed it halfway across the world.
Grabbed the old acoustic and
you were playing
sea shanties for us.
Yeah, it's like you were playing guitar on the boat.
But, it was a fun time.
Yeah.
So things like that are really fun. It kind of like, I don't know, brings like the community aspect back to co-op gaming. And I don't know, I guess another thing is like the sandbox nature of it, of how like you can make this game whatever you want it to be. So if you want to be like real story driven, you can actually like, there is actually a story and you can play it. But I'm having fun just like hanging out and like building a thing here or there, or like helping you get resources to build your thing, and then like just running around the map. And then occasionally just be like, oh yeah, let's go kill a boss so we can gear up, for the next biome or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's the game is truly sandbox in nature, in terms of you being able to make it whatever you want to make it at that time.
Yeah. And we have a comment, not in our stream, but from Bimbo Slice, aka Tim. He says that I was describing Atlas when describing the sailing aspect of it. And that was the game that he played for some time there. I think is a pirate game. So
Yes.
So maybe I'll have to play Atlas someday when Valheim's no longer fun.
That will never happen. Tim, my friend, you can comment on the live stream and we can throw your comments up for everyone to see, especially your comment about dummy thick troll cheeks, which is very true. And so if you noticed in the live stream me laughing hysterically while Nick was talking, that was why.
Is that why you won't let him pass the lobby?
Yes. Oh man, but no, I mean it's just it's fun. You can get in a lot of hijinks and stuff. Now I will say things that I would like to see improved, like you touched on, the optimization really needs to be there and increase. Once you build 3, maybe 4 structures, and if you start to go like huge like Nick does, and then you have like sometimes even 2 players in that area, like it gets pretty choppy. You'll go to open your inventory or whatever, and you'll have to sit there for like 10 seconds for it to actually open, or like things like that kind of really suck. But you have to kind of give it a pass because it's a 5-person team and it's an early access, so like I can't get too angry about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's it doesn't, you have to build a lot, and you have to have like 2-3 people like in the immediate area doing a bunch of stuff. And there's, I looked at the technicals behind it, why it happens, and it's all about like the data being sent and received for that like zone.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes sense why it happens. And it's a pass, like you said. It's been out 5-6 weeks, and it's an early access game. Can't complain because I can go do other stuff. And one of the nice things is, there can be 5-6 people on this server, and we're all having fun at the same time and doing things that are collectively just making the world cooler and better. But we might not run into each other, and we might run into each other. Like I might come across you gathering stuff, or I'll be building for hours, and then like you'll be in and out of the base. And you can see on the map that Trash Can and his brother, they're building their stuff and they're adventuring. Crossland's sailing across the world.
He's basically recreating Waterworld.
Yeah. Well, and and the perfect example of that is I was just peacefully building my base, and all of a sudden someone shouts, and it's Crossland, and he's like, "Help, Nick, help." And he comes in hot on his long ship, and he was fighting something, right? And it was chasing him. So I helped him fight it off, and it ran away.
You went back to your merry way, building your castle.
And he sailed off, and I went back to my happy place and kept building. But he was like on a rampage. He was like, "To the ends of the earth" or something. So little things like that just.
Yeah, and I think it's so fun with it being in it at this time, with it being so new, is like that discovery aspect of like people have figured it out. Like there are people who have figured it out and like sunk hundreds of hours in and like done everything and beat the game, so to say. The sweaties, as we like to call them. But for a player like me who's not sweaty in nature, only like physically sweaty and not like gaming sweaty, I like trying to have to figure the things out by myself, and like not having somebody else there that's like, "Oh yeah, I already did that. All you got to do is do this or this or this," and like basically taking all the fun of figuring the game out away from you. But one thing that we haven't touched on that maybe people might be wondering is there PvP?
Yes.
Yes, the answer is yes. It's not
friendly, agreed upon duels, basically. So like there's a little toggle in a menu that turns on player damage, and then you can swing your swords at each other and try and kill each other. You lose. I don't know if you lose skill points. You do lose skill if you die regularly in the game. I don't know if you do from player combat, but it's a fun mechanic, and I like to see that because it shows that they've thought about it, and there's probably more to come in the future on that.
And that's kind of where I was getting at with like, it would be cool to increase the player cap per server. Because I keep thinking in the back of my head, like, yeah, we can do this right now with the 10 player cap. But like, for example, one of the perks that you could enjoy with becoming a member of our Discord, which by the way is completely free. All you need to do is have a Discord account and click on our link for our server, and voila, you are a Discord member of Showboys. One of the perks that we offer our Discord members is we actually have a dedicated server for Showboys. So, we're trying to get people in there to play with us on our own dedicated server that's always online in our own little Showboys world. The fun thing with our group, though, is we have a couple of stonk boys. So one scenario that's always played out in my head is how cool would it be if we had 5 show boys and 5 stonk boys, and maybe we weren't friendly.
Right.
Maybe there was like some show boys, stonk boys, like little war action going on or something, where you could like settle on opposite ends of the world and like eventually meet up and maybe fight each other from time to time, which would be cool, with more, a few more players, maybe raise up to 20 and you can have 10 on 10 or something.
It'd be like co-op PvP, right? Where it's kind of like agreed upon rules.
Yes. But the one thing that's interesting is the PvP is not forced on you, and it's something you have to physically turn on, and other people have to physically turn on, which is kind of cool because, one thing I've seen in a lot of Rust videos that I've watched or heard of from people playing is like,
don't do it.
People literally just murder you all the time.
Rust is just full of psychotic people, psychopaths, and it's a dark place on the internet. It manifested into a game. It's all the darkness of the internet. Yes. All the rage and the anger. It's all in Rust. So that's when people get, they get offended by people on social media. Like, I don't know, you need to go play Rust for like 5 minutes and you'll quickly realize that the world is a very happy place. Rust is not, but it's fun.
Yes, which is kind of a reason why I've never played Rust, because I feel like it wouldn't be that fun, just constantly being murdered every second. But yeah, is there anything that you would like to see, maybe added in the future, or something that is currently bugging you right now that you'd like to see fixed?
There's obviously a lot of little things, but I think one of the big things that can be improved upon is just like generally the pathfinding and the enemy kind of like worldly bad guys, like their movement and their artificial intelligence. I think that would be a good improvement, just because they are kind of dumb. Yeah. Maybe the harder stuff is a little bit smarter, just a tad, but mostly it's just like brute strength and different like how they get to you. But yeah, it's kind of dumb, and there's a lot of cheeky things that can be done to kill them or avoid them,
enslave them.
Yeah, so I think the PvE element, I think that's, while the PvP is cool to think about, I think the PvE has a long way to go before it is really kind of polished off there. Yeah. So that's something I like to see.
And we say that as people who die a lot in this game. Like the AI can be dumb, but it will still kill you like mercilessly and frequently. But once you figure out an enemy type, it's very easy to like know. I mean, I can kill a troll like with my eyes closed, or as I like to do, stand on top of copper nodes or in front of many trees and enslave the troll into chopping down the trees or mining my copper for me by moving out of the way from the club smash.
Yeah, you're just playing chicken with the club.
Yeah. Which is awesome for mining until you fall in like a crack of the node he's mining for you and you can't escape, and then he just bops you on the head. It's happened a few times.
Big dead.
Yes.
And then there's that troll that smacked Crosslin off the bow. That was funny.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, I could definitely see that. It's a great point for sure. Is there anything else?
The worlds are pretty lively. Yeah, I don't really have too many gripes with it. And that's mostly probably because I kind of stay in my own little sphere of what I like to do. I like to build. So, I don't get out there that much, but I do explore and stuff. So really a lot of it's just like really minor bugs and just maybe pathfinding. maybe it's a little clunky at times when I'm like trying to move around objects or like jump.
Yeah.
Um,
Or
but
trying to detach your cart from you
yeah,
is kind of a giant pain. But
yeah, that's real tedious. But at the same time, they put an incredible amount of thought to think about and put those things in the game. So I
yeah,
can't really complain.
right.
And that's all stuff that I know will get polished up over time. That's gonna be the stuff. That's what I'm excited for. Is like the very passive. Like I'm gonna be that nerd that just reads the patch notes and be like, "Oh, they fixed that. Oh, they fixed that."
Yeah,
Or I'm gonna be playing and be like, "This is way better."
yeah.
It's just the real passive like fixes. That's what I'm excited for because there's still a ton of content that they're
Mhm.
gonna add, and they can take years to add that. I don't really care at this point.
Right.
Just passively supporting the game because I don't know when I'm going to run out of my building juice to, because I start a project and I'm already like, I need to finish some of them. But I just start thinking about like, okay, the next spot. Well, the other problem is you guys go off and find a new place to like set camp. And I'm like, well, here I am,
Yeah.
here we go again.
We reached land on our sailboats, and Nick's like, we need a giant boathouse.
Yep.
Obviously. I haven't even finished my giant castle, but I got to start on this giant boathouse.
Hey, I mean, you parked your boat and it just disappeared.
I don't want to talk about that.
So I have to build a boathouse to protect it.
It still makes me a little sad.
Yeah. So we're going to alleviate that with an excessively unneeded structure that slows the area down.
Yeah.
That's what I'm here for.
I'm excited to, so like right now, I think there are 4 biomes that are playable. We have the meadows, Black Forest. Oh, maybe I shouldn't, should I possibly spoiler alert.
Yeah. I think there's 5.
5?
Not counting the ocean.
Okay. And then what were the totals? Like 9 they planned on, I want to say. I don't know why
8 or 9.
My mind keeps going to 9 when we're talking about the things in Valheim.
I think it's 9. I think they have like 3 or 4 more planned on top of the 5 that exists.
Yeah. So like we're basically only like half of the world is available to us, which is cool.
There's 5 bosses and there's 1 boss per biome. So there's 5 biomes.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm excited to see the new biomes. So I've only personally been in 3 and like a 10th of one as I like ran through it and was just
murdered,
absolutely murdered every second that I was in there.
It made this is just how open the game is. So I didn't kill the second boss, but I'm going to kill the third boss.
Yeah.
So am I just going to have those 2 perks and not the second one?
Yeah, you can go to the.
Well, I know I can go back and do it, but.
No, you can go. So when you kill a boss, for those of you wondering, we keep talking about bosses. That progresses the storyline. So you like have to go kill these bosses, and then you bring their trophy back to the area that the crow dropped you off in like the starter circle, whatever you want to call it, summoning circle. I don't know, but like right where you entered the world, there are huge stones in a circle, and whenever you defeat a boss, you bring his trophy and you hang it up on their stone, and then you can go up to the stone and activate it, and then that will be like an activatable buff on your character that has like I think there are like 20-minute cooldowns, and when you activate the buff, it lasts for a couple minutes. The one I have right now will last for I think 5 minutes, and then it's on a 20-minute cooldown or whatever.
So you're saying to go to the stone and click it and I'll get it?
Yeah.
Because I don't even have to play the game. I can just build stuff.
Exactly. So Crossland and I, we defeated the second boss, but he looted the trophy, which is fine. And then he hung it up, and then I just went up and activated it, and I got the buff.
Look at this game. It gets better by the minute.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the funny thing is, I thought the buffs were just always active, and I accidentally pushed the hotkey to activate the buff, like fat fingering, whatever I was trying to do, and I was like, "Whoa, what was that?" And I was like, oh, I got this buff. And I was like kind of bummed out because I was like, oh, I thought that was already there. Like, what have I been doing this whole time? It was like 20 hours into the game when I finally figured that out.
It's okay. I never in practice used the first one.
Same. I thought it was just always on. I was like, oh, this is awesome. I
I'm
felt
so
like I
much
was
better.
running faster, but really I wasn't.
Oh, there is a buff when you die called Corpse Run that lasts for like 30 seconds or whatever. It makes you run fast. The first, like one of the first times I died, I was like, why am I running so fast to the woods? I just like I'm flying basically.
Yeah, man. It makes me miss my troll armor. But
Yeah, it's okay. You'll get it back someday. It'll be your like cosmetic armor you can just wear about on your explorations and stuff.
fingers crossed. But yeah, I just this game has done something for me, has scratched a certain itch that I've been looking for, and we've kind of touched on it in, G chats and stuff, but I think this game is filling the void that I was hoping New World would fill.
Mm-hmm.
In a different way, since it's not an MMO per se, but it does a lot of the things that I was hoping to get out of New World, but like better in a way.
Right. And I've always been big on just like simulation games, building games, crafting games. Like I liked Rust, but it was just extra violent and psychotic. But I never played Minecraft just because I don't know, I just felt like I was not in the right age group, or I just missed that wave for whatever reason.
Same.
And obviously I've never it's never appealed to me aesthetically, right? So the fact that people call this Viking Minecraft kind of makes me happy, because I feel like I'm getting that itch that filled a ton of people when they played Minecraft, because that game was hugely popular and successful, and still is. But the aesthetic here really speaks to me, right? It's cozy, it's immersive. It's not too detailed, too out of reach for people, but it's not like too dumbed down to where it's just blocks.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that it's filling that void for me. And I mean, maybe I'm not glad because I'm spending way too much time just building castles and stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, don't worry.
I'm like, what have I achieved? What have I achieved just besides happiness?
Yeah, that's all that matters, right? But to your building castles, that is my farming. Like,
yeah, you build
literal farming, not like farming materials, but like going and finding an abandoned building with like by one of our forts, I found a little plot of land that had some like patches of dirt that had berry bushes in them that you can pick the berries out of for food. But then they also had kind of like a wood fence kind of outlining these patches of grass or dirt, and there were like 6 or 7 of these around this one house. So I just like fenced it all off, repaired the house, cultivated the soil so I could plant like carrots there, and like threw a few beehives on one of the plots, and then I have my berry bushes, and I literally just have like a giant farm, a giant carrot farm.
It's huge. It's very Shire-esque.
Dude, I love it though, because then we just discovered a new type of seed that I'm not going to talk about, but we're growing our stock of this new seed, and we're going to have a smaller farm on our northern front with 2 kinds of vegetables that are grown by yours truly and our good friend, the seafarer Crossland. I feel like we should have had Crossland on here. We keep talking about him so much.
Yeah, maybe. He doesn't even watch the show or listen to it, so.
But he's a member of the Discord, so he gets to play with us.
Yeah, that's the loophole. You don't have to listen to us, but you can hang out with us.
Yeah. So he's a show boy by default, just by being in the old Discord. But yeah, so do you have any like bold predictions for what may come out of this game, whether it's like some new crazy thing that they haven't talked about on their roadmap or anything, or some like maybe genre transcending thing that they do that somehow like changes the world of video games or something.
Right. So I mean, one of the, obviously, the metric that's widely popular that's always cited is, in the first 5 weeks or so, there was 5 million players or purchases of the game on Steam,
which is ridiculous.
They're doing 1 million a week. They just blew up. I think I got it week 2. And he just kept going. So one of the things that might work against it is that it is such a kind of finished game. Not finished, but there's a lot in it, right? There's a lot already added to it. And, it could lose steam. Definitely a lot of those players are going to fall off, right?
Looking at you, Tim.
Yeah, Tim is too sweaty for everything. Just Rocket League, that's all he plays right now.
Yeah.
And 2 other games. I creep his Steam. But it could lose its as far as what they plan and what they can add in a timely manner. Because one, I couldn't find, and I do not know how long this game has been in development, either by the one person, the 2 people, and then as it led up to the release on Steam. So I don't know if it took them, and obviously the graphics, you can't place it in a time frame. Mm-hmm. So the they could have been working on this for 5 years. They could have been working on this for 10 years, right? So is this roadmap going to be, they have like 4 major things planned. Is that going to be this year? Is it going to be over the next 5 years? So I think that'll be a real big test of it, is how much can they update and just improve and add in a timely manner to keep, because it is as successful as it is. And even though it has that early access stamp on it, right? They basically have like a very complete game to support at this point, right? They have a huge player base, and they're just going to have all their cash up front and be like, all right, here's the 5 million people that bought it. You're going to have trickle in from there. Like, how do you keep that momentum going, right? Yeah. How do you do that? And it's the same thing like a music artist. Like, their first album comes out, it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. Everyone loves it. The next one, complete dud. So how do they do that? How do they continue that trend? And is that kind of success on pace with what their development style is?
Yeah, no, that's it's a valid concern. I don't know if concern is the right word, but like all valid points, and I guess could lead to some concern. I would wonder also with the storyline that they've put in the game here. I feel like they're kind of boxed in really with like how far they can take the game. Like what's the game's expected life cycle, right? Are we looking at a game that they expect to be live and continually supported for a decade, like like a League of Legends or an MMO, like WoW or something, And if that is the case, like where do you go from what we already have, right? So like your goal is to leave Valheim and get to Valhalla by beating these bosses. So like then what? What happens when you beat all the bosses? Like you just do the same thing in Valhalla, but like you get to hang out with Odin.
No, that's when you unlock the God of War, but Norse mythology version of God of War, and you have to kill Odin. And it's a hack and slash like God of War was. And that's basically what the game is afterwards. But no, I mean that's a good point. Like maybe they should address that somehow, whether that's like a different game or I don't know, game mode. Maybe that's how you unlock PvP.
Do they just like
arenas?
do they just leave it as is and just add, maybe some more biomes, right? And some new resources, some new crafting stuff.
The
And
cloud
then,
biome, the Valhalla biome.
but what if they like, a couple of years from now, they take on a different style or like different mythology, instead of Vikings, they do like samurai or something, I don't know, spitballing ideas here. But
I think it should unlock PvP though. Like you get to fight the other players that got to go to Valhalla. So all the
then it
sweaties,
becomes
where
an
all the
MMO.
sweaties go. Yeah, then it's an MMO. They can strap you into World of Warcraft.
There you go.
Yeah.
They do have their Norse, random storylines here and there and characters. So,
well, in Legion, the warrior hall or whatever was basically Valhalla. It was Odin's like cloud castle. That's where the warriors got to go hang out. So that was fun.
Yeah, I spent my time in Legion, below the cathedral in the eastern or western plague lands as a paladin. Which actually was kind of cool. Like, completely different topic, but I think like the class halls in Legion that was actually a pretty cool little like, I don't know the word I'm thinking of, but
you are correct.
Gimmick. That's what it was, a cool gimmick. Like, while it lasted, it was cool, but it didn't age well, and there wasn't much you could do with it afterwards. But yeah, I don't know. I think I've ran out of things to say about Valheim, other than I have so much fun playing it, and I'm really looking forward to its development down the road, because it's been a month and it's not even fully released yet. So I'm excited to see what they do as it continues to flesh out.
Yeah. Other than praising it and talking about all the random and uninteresting things I do in the game and the things that we've done. I don't really have much else to say. And I also don't, I don't want to spoil anything
right
in the game. And I don't think we said too much spoiler stuff. Like, it's all very high level stuff. And there's so much in the game. It's easy just to forget. And once you get in the game, it's going to create that experience where you're like, where am I? What do I do? Where do I click?
Yeah.
What does this thing do? Should I be here right now? Am I going to die? Like, that's all going to come back naturally.
Yeah.
So
I will say my last thing about what I like is just like the side stories that we create ourselves as players, just in our like routine tasks that we're doing, have been so much fun, because like those things matter now. Like having someone who's gathering the best type of foods to cook for the best recipes that you have, like, is actually important, and that stuff actually takes time. Like, it's not something you can just run outside of your base and do in 10 seconds. Like, that might actually take half or your entire playtime for the evening, if you're like us and only have like an hour or two or 3 or 4 or 5 depending on the night to play. Like, you can only get so much done or accomplished in this game, because like you have to walk places. That takes time. You have to like do the mechanics, which also take time. And I don't know. It's been fun.
Yeah. And you have to prepare when you go out. Like, and that's a gripe on the game, is like your inventory, the way they handle that, like all your gear and stuff sits in your inventory.
Yeah.
People really want a character page or whatever to equip their stuff.
Very great point. That's another thing that I could totally get on board with.
Yeah. So, as an early access game, you have to be a little more cognizant of preparing and what you bring with you and what you take back, because there isn't a lot of trash in the game. There are items in the game that are super trashy that just you don't care about and you just throw on the ground, but you still fill up really quickly and you're like, well, I need this, but I also need this, so which do I need more? Maybe you just build a chest and remember it's here for later, because there's a lot. Everything stays very useful in that game. Most things.
Or you could do what all normal people do and just spend an entire night or 2 or 3 building roads, so you can easily transport carts for all of your resource gathering.
See, it's simulating that, right? Like the road has purpose. Remember that one time we were running through the forest and I was like, oh, the road is up ahead. That actually is going to save a crap load of time, and it did, and it was very helpful.
Yeah, another reason to play on the Showboy server. We have our own VDOT, organization.
Yeah, it's currently like the Coast Guard or whatever. I don't know. I'm building like coastal fortifications at this point. Not doing many roads these days because sailing's the big thing these days, right?
You need to get on the road from the northern front down to Crosslandia.
Forget that. I'd rather build the canal. And and that's the other thing is the world, the earth, the ground is very malleable. It's a very malleable world. So like you can shape and craft nearly anything you can think of, and people become very creative and clever with what they can do, right? You're not working Rust, I'm pretty sure, is a semi kind of like static ground, if you will, and you kind of build on top of that. The ground is very malleable, pretty deep and pretty far up. So you plant trees, Crossland planted the giant forest out of nowhere.
It confused me. Like I literally felt lost when I went back to this little village.
Where am I?
Yeah, I could have sworn I was heading in the right direction, but I think that's where like the Minecraft comparison comes in. Like, being able to dig down and build up is very Minecrafty. Yeah, great game. Highly recommended.
My 112 hours speaks to it. Not that I play a lot of games, but I play a fair amount. But it's gonna quickly like get into like my top 5 played games on Steam.
Yeah, everyone that listens to the show and or knows me knows I do not play a lot of games, and this was one of the few that was able to pry me away from my crippling League of Legends addiction.
Finally,
yes. But hey, there might be another one. Okay, so I'm gonna plug a friend of mine, someone I went to high school with. And haven't spoken to for a very long time, but stumbled upon his stream on Facebook, months ago. I think I brought him up here, but on Facebook, his name is BioCiv. He streams video games every morning, Monday through Friday, typically from like 8 to 9:45 or something before he goes to work. So if you're looking for some early morning entertainment, it's very fun. I always throw it up on the top monitor there while I'm working. Provides me some very fun entertainment. But where was I going with this? Oh, so he was kind of the one who inspired me to finally get back in and beat Fallen Order, because I started it and then the ranked season in League came out, and then I was like, I gotta play ranked, and I stopped playing Fallen Order, and then I started watching him stream, and he was playing through the game for the first time. I was like, oh yeah, I need to beat that game. So then I went back and beat it. Well, he just finished streaming the second Tomb Raider in the new Tomb Raider reboot trilogy. I think it's Rise of the Tomb Raider or something. He just beat it today, so congratulations. But the game was super cool, and I was like, man, if this ever goes on sale, like I'm totally going to buy this. Well, guess what? It's on sale today. It's like $5. So,
dang.
News, like little PSA here.
Midweek Madness, right?
Maybe. I don't know what it is. I just got an email that, item on my wish list was on sale. Checked. Bam. Tomb Raider, Rise of the Tomb Raider, 80% off. I paid like $6.47 for it. So, I am looking forward to trying that game out. Apparently, I own the first Tomb Raider somehow on Steam, which I don't even remember having. It might have been like one of the Humble Bundle monthlies. Well, like the first of the reboot trilogy. I think it might have been a Humble Bundle monthly game or something. I don't remember. But I have the first and now the second. So I need to play them because they look pretty fun. And it very much reminds me of Uncharted. Obviously, since Uncharted reminded me of Tomb Raider. So it's like a vicious cycle. But yeah, I don't know why I brought that up, but because you're talking about most played Steam games. I'm hoping to crack those two open sometime soon. But
yeah, now that you don't have a console, you're all on Steam.
Yeah.
You abandoned the console.
Horizon Zero Dawn is, the next on my wish list on Steam. So whenever that goes on, whenever that goes on like super sale like this, I'll scoop that bad boy up.
That game is better than Valheim.
Horizon.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
it's like one of the best
style game, but
yeah, it's a cheat, but that's one of the best games like ever for me.
It does look awesome. Like,
it's great.
I want to play it badly, so it's on my wish list also. But yeah, so Biosiv, Yusuf, thank you.
Check it out.
For entertaining me in the morning. Check him out. He's a very entertaining guy. And
I enjoy him. He's funny. I like when sorry, but I like when you die. And
I know it's so funny.
It's funny.
He started like a swear jar. Because he has a son who likes to watch him stream, and then like whenever he cusses on stream, his son's like, "Hey, why'd you say that? You shouldn't be talking like that." So he started a little swear jar, and let me tell you, during Fallen Order, that thing got like halfway full. And it was hilarious.
I popped Fallen Order on the other day, and I need to turn that game like all the way on like story mode, like no combat. I'm stuck on something way too hard. I hate those spiders. Screw that game. Can't do it.
Yeah. But hey, if you're looking for it, he does have a YouTube channel, and it's a newly featured channel on our YouTube page. So if you scroll down to the bottom of our YouTube page, we have a host of featured YouTube channels, mostly the people we've had on our show. So you can find like That's Strange, our friends from A Bite Of who were on a couple episodes ago, the Scene Snobs, Be Hero, and now Biosiv. So check them out. Check all those people out. They're all super great. We like to support our indie content creators. Keep fighting the good fight.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Thanks for bringing that up. Yeah, definitely go check out the YouTube page. Made some updates to it. There's obviously some new featured channels, like Mike said, and then we have a couple new playlists, particularly our interview series. So we have all of our interviews as they are kind of, once a month. We kind of squeeze one in this year. So there's a playlist there, so you can catch all those. Those are always fun, and we have very good conversations with our guests.
Yeah.
And that's a good way to kind of find other content like us and things that we like. So I would say those are all very good picks as well.
Yeah. Which brings me up. Brings something to mind here. If you follow us on social media, or if you're in our Discord, or if you like to email, some people like to email. You never know. Can't leave those guys out.
No.
If you have like anyone you'd like to hear us, talk with or interview, if you like those styles of episodes, like let us know. Shoot us a message in Discord. Drop a comment on Facebook or Instagram. Shoot us a DM, something. Let us know if you have anyone you'd like to see on the show. If you have any like indie content creators, or people that we could actually get on our show that would actually come on to the podcast, let us know. We'll try to get them. I love talking to people. That's probably been my favorite part about this podcasting journey. Just let us know. And while you're at it, let us know what style of episodes you enjoy most. Do you like our What's Playing video game related episodes? Do you like our interview episodes? Do you like our companion series? That's weird. Like what do you like to hear? Let us know, because we enjoy doing this, and we're always looking for ideas. So maybe there's a certain style of episode or topic you'd like to hear us talk about that we haven't covered yet. Shoot us your suggestions. Discord, honestly, probably would be the easiest place to do that, and probably that's 100% the best way to engage and communicate with us and other people who listen to the show. It's a super fun place. We talk about it every week. If you haven't joined yet, please do. It's
a lot of cool people in there. Really good conversations.
You get, a few perks. One, like we talked about in the episode today, you can be a part of our Valheim server if you play Valheim. The weeks we have our newscasts, we put our all the article links that we used and some that we didn't use for those episodes. We throw those in Discord for those of you who are in there with us. And our friends from Be Hero have channel grouping in our Discord now. So you can go and chat with those guys and debate and argue with them about their slew of topics they throw in there. And yeah, we just love to have you and love to talk with you. So we hope to see you there. The typical spiel, please rate, subscribe, review wherever you're listening to this on, and you can find all of our social media and podcasting platform links at linktr.ee/showboyspodcast. And yeah, you got anything else to add here, Nick?
I don't think so. You hit a lot of good notes there. Yeah, Discord's really fun. Lots going on in there always. And then I think content and episode ideas, seeing what people like, would be good for us, just because we're kind of all over the place and we kind of like to do a large variety of things. So if there's anything in particular that is better or worse, just let us know.
Yeah.
For some reason, we think the what's playing is a little bit of an uptrend. So we try to uptake that a little bit, but we do like our classic what's watching, even though we haven't been watching too much lately, unfortunately.
I've been watching Nick build a boathouse in Valheim. That's what I've been watching.
So much work.
One last plug, and then I'm done. Guys,
15 minutes of plugs.
I know, but it's
at least we do it at the end and not the beginning.
Right. So I hope people didn't turn this off by now. But holy moly, I was just kidding. 2 more plugs. First off, tonight is the 18th, and you know what? You know what just came out today? The highly anticipated, largely demanded Snyder Cut of the Justice League, released today on HBO Max for streaming. 4 hours of Justice League epicness, the way it was intended to be told, from the man himself, Zack Snyder. I'm so excited to watch this, and I cannot wait. Our episode next week on Thursday, our Showboys correspondent, as he describes himself, Jordan, will be joining us to dive headfirst and just really get into the Snyder Cut. So I hope that you're able to carve out 4 hours to watch this, Nick, because I'm excited. I cannot wait to get into that. And then speaking of our Showboys correspondent, Jordan, it starts tomorrow.
Yes, I do.
This little mini series on this small indie streaming service platform called Disney Plus, Falcon and Winter Soldier comes out. First episode's tomorrow night. So you know what that means.
I think it's like tonight, technically. It doesn't come out like 3 a.m.
Okay. You know what? If you want to get technical,
watch it on your lunch.
Probably comes out in a couple hours.
Yes, sir.
You know what that means? Sunday night, 9 p.m. right here on our YouTube channel. Myself and our good friend Jordan will be breaking down, recapping, overanalyzing, speculating the crap out of the first episode of Falcon and Winter Soldier. And let me just tell you, I know you weren't on the show, Nick, and you won't be on the show Sunday, or maybe for any of the episodes. You're more than welcome to join us if you'd like.
I might.
But I don't know if you heard our episode last week, episode 0 of the companion series, but I may have stumbled onto a crazy theory that hasn't really been theorized, at least heavily, on the internet yet. So you have to tune in to our episode last week. It's out, everywhere, to hear what that theory is. But let me tell you, we're going to have a segment. We're going to have a watch. We're going to be watching. I'm going to be watching. I'm going to have my eyes peeled for clues. I'm right. You guys are you're laughing now. You're laughing now, but we'll see after episode 6.
You're going to end up just like all those people who speculated on the WandaVision episodes. You're just going to be left in the dirt, not doing nothing.
Yeah. Mephisto and the Mephisto Fisto comes out tomorrow, and we're really excited. But yeah, that's it for the plugs. Hope you're able to tune in Sunday. It should be fun. And thank you for tuning in tonight. As always, we'll see you real soon. Have a good night.